Most players pick their nomadic traditions the same way they would for a settled empire, but that's a mistake. Nomadic empires have so many tradition swaps that the priority order can be a lot different. Traditions that are mediocre for settled empires become absolutely massive for nomadics. In this video, I will show you the best traditions for nomadic empires, why they are so strong, and my personal tradition path that I use in most of my runs. Quick report from High Command before we dive deeper. Most of you watching aren't officially enlisted yet. If this run gives you ideas for your own games, subscribe and join our navy. We're gonna be starting with the strongest traditions. These are the traditions that will help your entire nomadic empire. If you're not picking any of these in your first 3 slots, you need a very good reason. The prosperity is already very strong for settled empires. For nomads, it becomes the undisputed best tradition in the game. The adoption effect gives plus 10% resources from harvesting actions, your primary income source for the entire early and mid game, and plus 25% logistic ship stockpile capacity, meaning that your logistic ships can stay out harvesting for longer before needing to return to your arc ship. It also unlocks the favorite society agenda that, when launched, gives plus 20% resources from jobs on your capital for 10 years. Since nomads take a long time to build their second arc ship, your capital sustains your entire economy for an extended period, making this bonus enormous. The standard construction templates gives minus 10% infrastructure cost and plus 25% build speed. In the early game, you need to build districts and buildings very rapidly to employ your excess civilian population. This perk directly accelerates that round. The modular superstructures gives plus 1 maximum district. Since prosperity is already your first pick, by the time you reach this perk, your archship has likely hit its district cap. Getting one more exactly when you need it is perfectly timed. The finisher effect gives plus 15% resources from harvesting, which stacks with the adoption bonus for a total of plus 25%. Your harvesting income is now a quarter better across the board from just one tradition. Statecraft is nearly mandatory for nomads because of one perk, the constitutional focus. It gives plus 25% council agenda speed, which directly accelerates your starting agenda, the archship development. This agenda is your key to unlocking additional archships, as it provides significant progress towards the archship construction technology when launched. Without a second archship, your empire plateaus. The sooner you get it, the faster everything else compounds. The amongst peers perk is the best way of leveling up your counselors. We already covered that in our counselor skill level guide, and it's equally important for nomads. The immutable directives increases your council agenda effect duration by plus 25%. That plus 20% resources from jobs on your capital from the prosperity's favorite society agenda, it now lasts 12.5 years instead of 10. Most agendas that you run will benefit from this extension. Now, Discovery is a very unique pick. It used to be great at the later stages of the game because of the researcher upkeep reduction, but now that got gutted. So the main reason Discovery is strong for nomads is because of the early survey speed bonuses. We get plus 35% from the Boldly Go perk and another plus 25% from the Map the Stars edict. As you may know, survey speed is crucial for nomads, as we benefit a lot from harvesting cosmic bodies that have any deposit on them, and we need to survey them first before knowing that. So by surveying quicker, we can harvest quicker as well. You could go ballistic and run the Shot the Unknown agenda for the plus 100% survey speed when launched, but I don't recommend since we have so many better agendas to run. The Science Division perk is also very handy for nomads. The plus 1 scientist capacity means you can field another science ship to keep exploring the galaxy, and the plus 1 research alternative will help you streamline your engineering research a lot better, as nomads get a very bloated engineering tech tree. The Entertainment Labs perk that used to give researcher upkeep reduction now gives amenities from them and plus 20% researchers from districts. So it's not nearly as good as before, but it helps nomadic empires as they struggle a lot with amenities on the archships. Getting more jobs is also nice since nomads have so many districts and jobs from them that this percentage bonus is very good. But the question is, can you pay for the upkeep of all these researchers? Well, that's why the commerce comes in this list. Commerce is huge for several reasons. The main one is the economic policies, which lets you turn trade in consumer goods or unity, or both if you have a trade federation. This means that we are generating consumer goods without consuming minerals and thus not costing anything from our operational reserves. Thus, we can allocate most of our jobs to alloy production, which is more efficient for nomadic empires with the void forges, and the alloy jobs will consume the operational reserves that would otherwise be consumed by the artisans. This also means that you can field a lot more researchers because you wouldn't need to build artisans, you just build more trade. The other reason for commerce is that it increases the trade generated from everything, so jobs, living standards, and most importantly from contract rewards. As we will be doing a lot of contracts, this compounds enormously over time. Now, expansion is best after you have found where to establish your way stations and can start building more arcships. The adoption gives plus 25% megastructure build speed, directly accelerating your arcship construction. The arcship armada perk gives minus 25% empire size from colonies, which reduces the considerable empire size burden of each arcship. It also gives minus 5% arcship build cost, which will help you field more arcships. The galactic ambition gives a whopping plus 50% station capacity. That's massive for your way station network. But there is a hidden gem in this tradition as well, the superior stations agenda. It is completely trash for settled empires as it only buffs the colony development speed. But for nomads, combined with the other way station bonuses from this tree, your entire network collects faster and transfers resources more efficiently. Now that we covered the best traditions for nomadic empires specifically, let's go for the situational traditions. These ones, they don't have unique nomadic synergies the way the top 5 do, but they are strong enough to earn a slot depending on your gameplay situation. Starting with Supremacy. It is the only tradition focused on military. You should grab it in most, if not all of your nomadic runs. There is not much nomadic specific content here, so it does pretty much what it always did, and nomads need fleets just like everyone else. So if you're planning to attack anyone or need diplomatic weight from fleet power, you will need Supremacy. Pick it when you are ready to start building ships and attacking enemies, because otherwise you don't have much of a reason to pick it. Now, Domination is niche, better for authoritarian empires, but it is very powerful for one reason that most people actually miss: the civil exclusion agenda. It gives plus 15% resources from jobs empire-wide when launched, and this modifier is multiplicative with job efficiency. Since nomads stack enormous job efficiency through the burning approach, the festivals if you have the star seekers, and obviously the species ascensions, a multiplicative plus 15% on top of all of that is far more valuable than it appears. On top of that, the Domination tradition tree also buffs your workers and slaves, a strata that is completely untouched by both the burning approach and the festivals if you have the star seekers. Those two, they only buff the specialists, so the other part of your economy, it doesn't get any bonuses. With Domination, we can get some sort of it. Now, Harmony seems like an odd pick until you understand one mechanic, the colony ascension. Arcships, they generate massive empire size, plus 100%, so if you're not actively managing it, your tech and tradition costs will spiral out of control. Ascending a colony with Harmony to level 10 reduces the colony empire size by minus 62.5%. With a Holy Covenant Federation, that jumps to minus 75%, and with the Ascensionist Civic, that goes to minus 87.5%. At that point, your arcships contribute nearly nothing to the empire size, and you can spam as many as you want without that much of a penalty. This makes Harmony the perfect late game tradition. By the time that you finish it, you are diverting Unity into ascending planets anyways, so the timing here is very natural. You pick it as one of your later traditions or when you plan to start ascending your planets. The other perks from this tradition, they are good as well, but they are not as game changing as the colony ascension effects. Now, adaptability, it is the only tradition that enables settling, transitioning from a nomadic empire to a settled one. So if your strategy involves eventually settling on planets and abandoning the Archship lifestyle, you will need this. Beyond the settling mechanic, it has practical value though. All nomadic buildings cost strategic resources instead of minerals or alloys, so the building strategic resource cost reduction from the adaptability directly reduces every building that you construct. The +1 district is always welcome, and the +10% habitability fills the gap on your secondary and future arcships that starts at 90% habitability, pushing them to the full 100%. But if you're staying nomadic for the entire game, adaptability loses a lot of its value, so you probably should pick something else. Now here's how I start most of my nomadic gameplays right now. This is the path that I run personally, and if you guys have any other ideas, leave it in the comments down below. It is always pretty nice to theorycraft new strategies. So I start with the prosperity adoption for the +10% harvesting bonus, and then I move to the standard construction templates for the build speed and build cost reduction. These two perks immediately accelerate my early game economy. Then I switch to Statecraft and grab constitutional focus for the +25% council agenda speed. I need that agenda running faster to unlock my second archship. This can't wait a second. Then I go back and finish prosperity entirely. The +15% harvesting finisher plus the ascension perk unlock is a massive power spike, especially for nomadic empires. After prosperity is complete, I don't finish Statecraft yet. The remaining Statecraft perks, they are good, but they are not as impactful as starting a third tradition. The third tradition depends on my situation though. Discovery if I'm still exploring, the survey speed and research alternatives come online when I need them most, expansion if I have found a strong cluster of systems for my way station network and I'm ready to build more arcships, commerce if I have enough trade set up to offset the consumer goods through trade policy, freeing my job slots for alloy production or even more research. I finish the third tradition entirely, then I go back and complete Statecraft. With 3 traditions done, I have 3 ascension perk slots and can start my species ascension. The 4th tradition slot is almost always your species ascension path. After that, you can either grab whichever of discovery, expansion or commerce you didn't pick third, or domination for the worker bonus and the civil exclusion council agenda. The supremacy tradition tree can come online as well if you are planning on building ships or declaring war on someone or just building diplomatic weight as we covered before. I usually pick it as 5th because by this time in the game I want to start creating more vassals. The next tradition I go with either expansion or commerce so I can have better economy. Usually it is commerce so I can start offsetting the consumer goods deficits that I'm getting with the researchers and etc, and I can leave my operational reserves entirely for alloy production upkeep. And as my final tradition I go with harmony because most of the times I'm pushing for the ultra late game runs and having the empire size reduction from colony ascension is pretty much essential, and harmony is kind of the ideal final tradition because once you complete it, your unity naturally redirects to ascending planets, so the timing here is perfect. And that's the complete tradition priority for nomadic empires. At prosperity first, always it is extremely good, a statecraft for the agenda speed, a flexible third pick based on your situation, and a late game path that scales into empire size reduction through the harmonies colony ascensions. Now you know which traditions to prioritize, but what about the ascension perks that those traditions unlock? That's gonna be our next video, where we'll cover the strongest ascension perks for nomadic empires and how they interact with the tradition path that we just built. So if this guide helped you out, commanders, leave a like because it also helps me out a lot and keeps me motivated to do more of this content. And as always, I will see you guys next time.